then again, I don't know why I'm like worried. Like nobody really watches this anyway. But we're live. Yay. Day 12 on Skittles McStabby Pants. Engelhardt is not here. He's been hospitalized. He's in a terrible coma. And I'm sure we'll be e-begging later for it.
Right. Yeah. That lucky guy.
Yeah, that lucky
cash in and all that stuff. Fucking e-begging money.
Yeah. Well, what it was interesting is that actually makes me think of David Hogg, actually, believe it or not. I'm not sure why. But his whole thing about like how like the schools didn't accept him, and you know, maybe they just don't care about like, you know, the future of the country or changing the world, but you know, he does, even though like they'd already like not accepted his applications like 6 months prior.
Wow.
That's what Laura Ingraham was making fun of, was like, that's a pretty ridiculous thing. You're obviously going too far. And that's what started that whole weird like boycott her advertisement things.
Yeah, he was basically trying to act like he just got rejected after all this happened, and it happened way before any of this fucking mess.
Yeah, and she called him on his shit, so he immediately sent out a thing about, you know, can you guys boycott the fucking sponsors for her show and try to get it fucking shut down and stuff like that, because that's apparently how that fucking conversation goes now.
Yep, that's the man. He is a proper leftist, dude.
It's such a shitty way to fucking have a conversation, you know?
Right. Oh shit! Right. They called me on what I was lying about, so let's boycott their whole thing. That makes sense, dude.
Well, and the thing is, like, when he made this statement, it was on like some sort of video on his Twitter, and like the first 2/3 of it or so were reasonable. He was like, well, you know, not everybody gets into their school; it's really tight. You know, and the schools I applied to are, you know, extremely popular, so it's not that much of a shock that I wouldn't get in. But then, like, apparently he followed it up with, I guess they don't care about changing the world as much as I care about changing the world, and I can still do that without college. This is too important, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Yep, David Hogg. He's going to save us all.
Yeah, with his fucking Hitler armband and Nazi salute.
Yeah.
How can you be that fucking obtuse? Like, clearly this was not an A fucking student. I mean, he got a 4.1, but I mean, you gotta be fucking dumb as fucking rocks not to think like putting up the fucking Heil Hitler sign with a fucking Nazi armband on is not gonna be a little odd,
right,
to some folks.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately for him, you know, I don't know, man. I think back to me at that age, and I wouldn't want any of the shit that I was doing being made public or happening in public. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like the dumbass I was at that age. Where again, much like David Hogg, I thought I knew everything and had the fucking world figured out.
I bet fucking everybody does at that age, man.
Yeah. You know, you're lucky if you only have like maybe 3 or 4 years before you figure that out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it turns out I don't really know shit.
Oh, I mean, and it's funny because like every year or two, you have like these weird revelations when when you're that young.
Yeah. You have these epiphanies, like, holy shit, I can't believe I thought that. What a fucking moron I am, or what?
Yeah. And you'd be like 19, and you'd be like, man, when I was 18, I was so arrogant and dumb. And then like you're like, God damn, at 19, I just didn't get it yet. And eventually, like, you get to the point where, you know, it's not that you're not changing that drastically each year. It's just that it seems so fucking short.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, it was fucking 4 years ago that I was dumb.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you do start figuring out some shit at least. But
oh yeah. Well, I think the key thing that really starts to, it doesn't really make you a grown up, but it kind of sets you apart from like the other children, so to speak. Is recognizing that nobody really grows up.
Yeah. That's the thing, man. As a kid, like, you think that all grown-ups have their shit together and that they just think differently.
Yep.
Somehow they think drastically differently than you do, and it's not really the case. Like,
Nope,
we're all
not
still
at
kind of
all.
fucked up in the head, or to some degree, we're all kind of screwed up in some way or other, and all of us have some kind of issues, generally speaking. And yeah, you don't realize that. Like, you kind of think your parents are fucking perfect or something. And that turns out obviously not to be the case. They're just people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's. I think there's a dividing, not a dividing, a defining moment that everybody kind of has to go through when at some point somebody who they either like look up to or is like a hero to them, or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
They recognize that person really isn't worthy of being looked up to, or isn't really what they thought that person was. Like, they're not that perfect.
You realize they're human. They're just a fucking person.
And sometimes that's parents, but sometimes that's also like an exterior figure to like the family. You know what I mean? Like somebody else.
Right.
You meet like your favorite book writer or something, and he turns out to be a fucking cunt.
Right. Yeah. Like Kevin Smith meeting Bruce Willis and realizing he's an asshole. Yeah. Not exactly the same thing, but
It is pretty much the same thing, though.
Yeah, that's true. He definitely said he looked up to him. He was like, nah, never meet your heroes.
Yep. Oh, Captain
be a cocksucker.
Captain Deadpool in the chat saying, "Hey,
hey, Dave, thanks for stopping by."
I think maybe the difference with Bruce Willis is he's got that sort of. It's not entirely asshole, but like he's got that sort of disconnect from reality that like super wealthy, super famous people have.
Right. Yeah, like they're not even aware of how badly they're behaving because they've done it for so long and it's been accepted for so long.
Like Michael Jackson builds a fucking theme park and he's been accused of molesting little kids. Like, that amount of money and fame just disconnects you from the maybe that's a bad fucking plan.
Yeah, call it Neverland Ranch. That's not creepy or anything.
Yeah, when he would like rent out grocery stores to just go crazy in with like all a bunch of kids and stuff.
Wow.
Oh, Dave wants it. I'll let him in. That sounds good to you?
Right. Yeah.
He's talking about Channel Awesome. Channel Awesome just fucking apparently just took the last nosedive into fucking obscurity.
Yeah. Oh, is that the dude, the guy that wears the glasses, got the goatee and shit? Wears the driver cap?
All right, I DM'd it. I think that's some of them. So Channel Awesome was a bunch of people. I think the Nostalgia Critic was like the main one.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But there's like Angry Joe and Spoonie and a bunch of other people that were all like contributors. So like it was like a bunch of different YouTube channel, internet personality, blogger kind of people that made a big thing.
Yeah. All right.
I was never super into it. Yeah, exactly. I just was never really into it because the guy with the glasses just never really worked for me. Like, I didn't hate him, just wasn't a fan.
Right. Yeah, some of the stuff I watched was pretty good. Their take on the Chipmunks was pretty funny. Like, you had the chicks, like, they all loved it. They're like, oh, it's so cute. And he would be going off about how the original shit was way better than the live action shits or whatever. Yeah. Like, that was pretty good. Definitely did some good shit, but yeah.
Angry Joe wasn't half bad when he was starting out, but he kind of just got weird over time.
Yeah, Dade, what do you think? And welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me back. I am just fucking disappointed beyond all repair. I mean, I think I've told you guys this, maybe I haven't, but I didn't really start coming on the internet until about 2013. Not doing videos or anything, just watching. Hell, I didn't find YouTube until about 2013 when I went back to college. And one of the first things I ever mention to people, if they ever say, "Hey, Dade, how'd you find, what'd you find on YouTube first?" And I said, "Oh, I ran across stupid videos left, right, and center. But what happened was I ended up finding James Rolfe, the AVGN, and so of course I would tell how I got to meet all these different people, and then ultimately to where it's like, and then I meet these people, and now I'm doing live chats with them, which is what I love to do. And then I occasionally run across you guys because we have such different time schedules that I barely ever get to see your guys' show. But then you were talking about people, breaking the myth of the facade of how they really are, and then you just really got me thinking, oh my God, those fucking guys that run Channel Awesome, those fucking douchebags. And it's really, and there's just videos everywhere. In fact, Mars Girl just did one about something, and she's getting sick and tired of doing it. And I just thought it was just, I'm 43 years old now, and I just fucking got floored by watching her last video. It was so in-depth and just shows how far Channel Awesome has gone down the fucking rabbit hole. And hold on a second, I got to make sure that I don't get sound off here because this fucking computer is set on a timer to go to power and sleep and all that shit.
Oh.
And sometimes it interferes and sometimes it doesn't. So when I was going back to college to finish up my networking certification, because I already had my networking degree, but they wanted refined certification, I ended up working out at the gym a lot, and I was married at the time. My daughter was going to college too at the same time, and so we kind of had some classes together and all this other shit. And so I was watching James Rolfe, and thank Christ James Rolfe is not involved with those fucking idiots at Channel Awesome anymore, and he's actually doing his own thing over on Cinemassacre and doing good, and he's distanced himself. But then it turns out that Mike Machad, Doug Walker, who is technically the nostalgia critic, that guy with the glasses, but Mike Machad owns the character.
Yeah.
And then
Doug
Rob,
sold it for some odd reason.
Yeah, and then Rob Walker, his brother, those three are just the fucking douchebags. And I never knew who the hell, Mike Machad was. And it's like one of those things that when you meet your favorite movies, Eddie Trunk said one time that there are a lot of musicians who don't want to meet you, not because they don't appreciate you as a fan, it's because they need to be able to live their own lives. And if and then sometimes they come off sounding a little prickish or rude, and it's not that, again, like not that they don't like you, it's just they have their own lives. So that kind of spoils the mystique, and that's the kind of the same way with Kevin Smith and Bruce Willis. But fuck Kevin Smith, he's a fucking shill and a hypocrite. But that's kind of the mystique that I had with the guys at Channel Awesome, because I used to watch Spoonie, Mars Girl, Obscurus Lupa, Phelan, and I mean, I would watch all those people that used to be on there, and now they're down to less than 10 people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As contributors, and that was ruined for me with this whole change to channel thing. And I'm just like, and I'll read what I wrote, and I won't say what the video is, but I wrote, and I doubt she'll ever reply to it. Well, Ethan Van Shiver just replied to me. That's always nice. But I basically wrote on this thing. It says, "It just gets weirder and weirder. I can't even watch old. It's getting to the point I can't watch old CA videos anymore. I thought at my age that not much would floor me anymore, but this video was just wow." And then I thanked her for making it, and it was just one of those things that, for all the problems Spoonie's had, I'm glad he's not on the site anymore, and I'm glad all these contributors have left, because now that the curtain has been pulled away and you see the man behind the curtain, and he ain't taking your ass back to Kansas, he's keeping your ass in Oz. There are a few people on Channel Awesome right now that do their own thing that are really good, and I'm not going to say who they are, but fuck Channel Awesome. I'm sorry. I mean, I am one of those people that, even though I have like maybe 41 subscribers and I talk my own shit and I barely make any videos, when I'm one of those people that, when I do my job, if I recommend something, it's very, it's one of those things you need to take seriously, because when I recommend something, it's not because I'm getting paid or I'm a shill. It's the fact that I've either tried the product or I know the person that's doing something. Like this person asked me if I knew anybody that was really good at carpet cleaning. I said, yeah, I've got a neighbor that literally lives 3 houses down from me. He runs his own business and he uses all non-chemical type ingredients, you know, like how they have all that oil-based shit that you put in your carpet and it makes it smell bad and it says it gets the stains out and it doesn't. He does this shit with fucking basic Barbasol red and blue can shaving cream, and he's just fucking great. He does it as much as natural as you can about get. And so when I say something, it's kind of like, yes, I'm recommending it because I know you can trust my opinion or my thoughts on this. So when I say, somebody says to me, you know, I actually had my nephew came up to me and says, hey, Uncle Dave. And I said, yeah, but he goes, is there anything good to watch on for reviews these days? And I said, well, what are you talking about? And he was actually talking about the kind of stuff I would say, no, go check out James Rolfe stuff, because I would say, go check out Angry Joe or Channel Awesome, whatever I said, but I had to say, go check out James Rolfe stuff, and that's it. Or go check out all these other newer people that I found and that I've been connecting with, and I avoided Channel Awesome altogether. And Rob Walker, Doug Walker, and Mike Mashad, you fucked everything up. And I don't know if you guys ever heard my tangent on my vlog, but it was just kind of like, you fuckers came in at the golden age of YouTube, built practically an empire, and now you've ruined it, you dumb fucks.
Yeah, and
tore it all down.
Always like ego.
It was ego and mismanagement and not knowing how to fucking run a business. The problem is they ran it like it was their own personal piggy bank, like they were raiding the coffers at a bank instead of running it like a fucking business. And it wasn't really a money. The coffers thing is just an analogy. But
no, I get what you're saying, though. Yeah, it makes a big difference if you're intelligent enough to recognize that whatever business you have, carpet cleaning,
right,
YouTube channel, whatever, you have to have a certain amount of funds on hand.
Right, and I don't know how the hell Mike Mashad was getting a $10,000 kickback a month, because if I could figure that shit out, I wouldn't be doing my own damn job. Yeah. But it's one of those things that when, you know, as I was saying, that when I was on a live stream last night with the Finer Print, which was totally awesome, talking to Tim Lim and those guys again about the books they're doing, I said, you know, word of mouth still plays heavily even in the internet age, because when you do something right, you're going to have your fans. They're going to say, this is what I like about this, and good fans will say, this is what I like about this. This is what I think needs work, as opposed to a good detractor, which, believe it or not, they do exist. They say, you know, I really don't like this because of blah, 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 but you might get a kick out of it. You're still giving word of mouth, and I think that's something that Channel Awesome and people that are in the movies, that are in the music business, they see, and especially politicians, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you seem to forget that just because you're at the status that you are in life, that you can piss on everybody, but the people that you piss on are the ones that do or do not recommend you. And in the old adage is, one person gives a bad review, 2 people hear it, and then those 2 people tell 2 other people that tell 2 other people, and so on and so forth. That's what it is. And so when I was listening to you guys talking about all that stuff, not only did I want to comment on the Channel Awesome stuff, because they're fucking done. They've gone down the rabbit hole. Everybody they've been exposed. But it's the thing that future content creators can avoid. It's a warning. If people out there are going to have their own conglomerate of something like Screw Attack or that guy with the glasses / Channel Awesome, which used to be the big 2, then you need to heed what's happened with Channel Awesome and avoid it, because you have to, if you have something like that, you have to run it like a business, to where you have a person in HR, you have a person who is strictly on a managerial level, and then there's the person who's strictly on a lower rung level of management, you know, not middle management, but it's like you have your hierarchy for a reason. And whether you hate these businesses that I'm about to mention or not, the reason they've succeeded is because they know how to run a business and they have a hierarchy. Like Walmart, for example. A lot of people hate Walmart. Yeah, that's fine. You can hate them all you want. But the reason they've been doing what they've doing for about 50 plus years is because they know their customer base. They try to listen to their customer base and not be complete dicks about it. And sometimes they fail. Sometimes they don't. But they have that hierarchy of, This is the president, this is the vice president, this is the CEO, this is this, and then you have your area managers, your regional managers, your district managers, and then you have your store managers, and then you have everybody all the way down to basically box boy, and things have to work in a certain order. And they have those things work for a reason because they know what the fuck they're doing. Something that Channel Awesome fucking failed miserably, that if you're going, like if we started a conglomerate of video reviews, we would have to have that. And that's something that that Channel Awesome failed to do. And that's something that James Rolfe has done very well. He has him and Mike Matei, and they do their things because they act as a team. And that's why Cinemassacre succeeds, because they listen to their fans, they branch out, they try to stay fresh, and sometimes they fumble, sometimes they don't. But they have a hierarchy of this does this does that, and they have a plan. And those are the two biggest things because those are the two biggest people that are well known. When you talk about Doug Walker, it's like, oh, James Rolfe. Well, that's how things work. You have your one side, you have your other, you have what's successful and what has failed. So, and that's the same way in Hollywood. That's the same way in the music industry. This is why things work the way they do. And unfortunately,
there's another aspect though in Hollywood and the music industry is you kind of, to a certain extent, depending on the situation, kind of have to not be an asshole. Because they will, like, movies will get rid of people if you can't work with the person. It's just not worth it unless you are the absolute top of the heap. Yeah.
And that's like any business, really. I mean, unfortunately, and then sometimes you do have assholes that are in power, and oddly enough, life being stranger than fiction, the business will still work because you'll get people who are yes men.
Well, and also at a certain point, like with businesses, you don't have to have as much interaction. Like if you're buying from a supplier, and the guy that runs the supplier is like a douchebag, you only have to talk to him like when you're making an order,
right,
or paying the bill. You don't have to hang out with him on set or in a recording studio for days on end.
Right,
that's the key.
Well, yeah, and that's something that Channel Awesome failed to do, is not only treat it like a business, but know how to get the product out in an efficient and effective manner, which is why they had a lot of contributors leave, and then they fired contributors who some were a threat to them because they could do better without them, and so they demoralized them and degraded them, and now they're not out there doing much. Or they fired people that they thought were weak, and then they end up going their own way, and they're now better off because of it. And kudos to those people. I mean, it's not like anybody that I've mentioned is ever going to hear anything I'm saying. And if they did, great, contact me on Twitter. And if you want to talk with me on live stream, I'll be more than happy to host or whatever. But this is a fucking mess when you have people that have an attitude, that act a certain way to the public, to their fans. You piss the fans off, you lose that mystique, or you lose your fan base, and then everything goes bye-bye. It doesn't matter who it is. Yeah. And that's business wide, and it's a business thing, and that's why I mentioned Eddie Trunk is because Eddie Trunk has been in the business for as long as he had, and he knows people that some that are in bands that are really successful, that love their fans, but it's kind of like, hey, I need my own life. And when fans realize, okay, I don't want to go bother the fuck out of this person, you still have that mystique. You still go buy the record, so to speak. You still go see that band live, and you keep that good, positive vibe between you as a fan and the band that you like, as opposed to the complete opposite.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of fans, especially with the band part, I would say, it's the first time you've met somebody that you worship or that's famous.
Right.
That's the millionth time they've met a fan.
Right. And they don't always, and you're a stranger to them. This is something that Eddie Trunk brought up.
You don't actually know them. They're not your friend.
And so, exactly, that's kind of the point. I've met David Ellefson twice from Megadeth, and I doubt he remembers me. And it was very intimidating because I walked into a room when he was doing something in Minnesota when he wasn't with the band. I mean, he was with Megadeth, but he was doing his own solo thing. And I'm from Iowa. It's kind of like, holy shit, I got to meet David Ellison. He was doing a signing. And it's kind of, even though he's there doing a signing, he doesn't know you as a person. He doesn't know if you're there to get his book signed, or if, somebody's going to do something psychotic. I was like, oh my God, I'm meeting David Ellison, and I'm going to steal your bass guitar kind of shit. You don't do that. So it's along the lines of, when you go to with the first time I met David Ellison, I went to a signing for his book. And I went in and I acted appropriately. And he says, well, who can I make this out to? And I said, oh, my name's Dade Murphy. I'm from a small town in Iowa called Davenport. And he goes, oh, I've traveled through there. You guys got the Oscar Mayer factory, don't you? And I said, yeah. And it's kind of like, wow, he knows who we are. And he's like, but he doesn't know me, but he knows where I'm from. And he's very polite. He's very cordial. But, you don't want to go up to the guy when he's eating dinner with his kids and his family. And it's kind of like,
yeah.
And that's the thing that people need to avoid, is to do not interrupt somebody when they're eating their dinner, so to speak. And I know that's a bit of a weird euphemism, but that's, but then there are those people that are in the rock business. They don't want to meet you at all. It's because they're very introverted people. Word has it, Neil Peart is a very nice man. Eddie Trunk said Neil Peart is a very nice man, but he is, when you really get up to his face and you just totally geek out, he'll go into a shell and he'll walk off. And it's not because he hates you. It's kind of like, oh, dude, I don't know you. That's how it is. And everybody's like that in some fashion.
Yeah, so, I don't know. If I was actually famous, I would be embarrassed if somebody was geeking out in front of me. I would want to get out of that situation as soon as possible.
And I think that's one of the best things about the best things about the internet and doing live streams is, one of the people that I follow is Razorfist, and I actually chatted with him on a live stream, and he was, it's one of the best things. I was introduced by the host. And I actually ended up talking to him for about 15 minutes afterwards, and we were just talking rock and everything, but we had something in common. But he didn't know me, and I didn't know him. So it's not going to hey, man, can I, fly out from Iowa to Arizona and go out and have lunch with you? It's like, yeah, okay, that's fucking weird. So yeah. It was a one-off thing, and it was great to meet him. And then I've done 3 live streams with Timothy Lim, who created Thump the first 100 days, him and his buddy Brett. We've done 3 live streams together, and that's more of a an unprofessional work relation, because I'm talking about a common subject of comic book knowledge and history and today's political climates and how they affect comic books, with Brett Smith and Tim Lim and another guy and 2 other people that are in the chat with me, because I was invited. And it's very nonchalant, casual, and it's not me geeking out, because Tim would be like, I'm glad you like, I can speak for Mr. Lim saying, yeah, I'm glad you like my book, but don't wig out on me. But see, The thing is, he's also a doctor. So he's met a wide variety of people. So part of his job is he's used to being around the fanboys, but I know that he appreciates just people bullshitting with him too. And I think that's the biggest problem with people, is we get the visualization of what we think the people are going to be like. And when we geek out, it freaks them out, instead of just saying, hey man, how you doing? Oh, I'm Dade. My name's Dade Murphy. How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And like I said, going back to David Ellison, it was like I talked to him for 5 minutes. He knew where Davenport, Iowa was. He mentioned Oscar Mayer, and I said, yeah, I actually lived at one time about 5 blocks away from that. And he goes, oh, hey, thanks for coming out and buying my book. I said, yeah, no problem. And it was very respectful. But then, my point is, even though I'm being long-winded and I'm really hyper right now, there's a time and place for everything. And people seem to have this problem, especially because of the internet, to think that rule doesn't apply to them.
Well, I mean, when it comes to YouTube, there's an extra layer of remove that's sort of missing from the standard fan and actor musician relationship.
Right.
You know, it's like a lot of the entertainment is more interactive in that YouTube creators are far more responsive to their fans than any Hollywood celebrity will ever be.
Yeah, they kind of have to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So and they don't generally, like when they're out in public, they don't have, you know, like a fucking bodyguard like a lot of the really famous people will.
Yeah, and going back to Razor Fist, because I said, hey man, I've followed you for like I found your channel about a year ago, and I love the metal mythos and all this other stuff, and so I was kind of going on a tangent, and the host was like, well, don't go Travis Bickle, and I said, hey, no Travis Bickle, and Razor was just like, all right, you know, so there's fanboys, there's fangirls, and there's Uber fans, and when you are an Uber fan about certain things like I am, it's okay. You know, and at the age that I'm at, I actually know I have the understanding of not being a total geek about shit. Because I mean, don't get me wrong. If I flew out to Arizona and I was just walking around minding my own business and I bumped into him, and I'd be like, "Oh, hey, Razor," and he'd be like, you know, he'd probably give me an oddball look. I said, "Oh, you've never seen me face to face. My name is Dade, and we talked on this live stream." He'd probably like shake, you know, it's like, hey, how you doing? Oh, good. Okay. Bullshit for about 3 minutes, do a quick catch up, and he'd go on his way and I'd go on my way. Yeah. But, you know, that's the thing. And YouTube, while it does give you a certain, an additional layer of separation from the quote unquote famous person and the fans, well, that's why, you know, that's what it's basically the same as going to a Comic-Con. You write a book and people love your work, but you have to go to the Comic-Con and promote it. Well, you're going to deal with the fans of all kinds.
Yeah.
As opposed to the exact, and I would say this is probably almost an exact opposite, as back in the old days when you would have, when you would be in a major rock band or a rap artist or whatever, and you just do a record, you would have to, you know, if you're one of those people that is easily intimidated, you're in a band, you know, and that's your outlet, that's great. But man, if you know you've got to go about promote that, you know you're going to run into the weirdos. There's not that extra layer of protection such as we have on YouTube or any other video medium. So it's kind of the complete 180 from YouTube to the music industry and even the movie industry. Because especially in the movie industry, people are seeing what you look like and your acting skill. And I'll use Bruce Willis as an example to carry back to what I jumped into. Well, you know, I see him in the Die Hard movies and I like him in the Die Hard movies. I know he's not John McClane, but if he acts like a cranky ass because that's just who he is, it's kind of like, you know, geez, maybe he put a little too much Bruce into John McClane or something. But I know what he looks like. I know his physical build. I've seen the interviews. And one of the things I've always said is if you watch one interview with one of your favorite musicians or actors, you will know within 5 minutes whether or not you'd want to eat lunch with them or you'd want to punch them out. Because how a person reacts to the interviewee or answers questions is a massive giveaway. Not only because you see their body language, but because the face will give everything away.
A great opportunity to see celebrities in a different light in an interview is Kevin Pollak Chat Show. Kevin Pollak is like a really well-known or a really prolific character actor that I think pretty much everybody's seen him in at least one or a dozen movies. You know, he was in A Few Good Men. He was in like Willow. He was in several different. He's been in a lot of fucking movies.
Yeah,
Pop Out with Bruce Willis in Kevin Smith's film, and he does long form interviews with all sorts of famous people. I mean, he even got like Tom Hanks on for like an hour. Tom Hanks apparently digs the Pabst Blue Ribbon of all options for somebody with, you know, absurd amounts of money. He just sat there and in the course of an hour interview probably pounded down about 3 beers.
Yeah. But you know who else does a really good job is I haven't watched any of his stuff lately, but Mark Maron, the W2F podcast. Mark Maron does a great job of getting into fucking like pretty personal shit with them, dude. It does a really good job of humanizing people.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that needs to be done is to humanize people, because we're all over 40, obviously. And when I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch I don't watch him now because he doesn't really make them, and I've grown out of that kind of shit of watching all these doofy ass type movies from the 80s. But most people would go see a Harrison Ford movie. If they see Harrison Ford on the bill, they'd go see it. If they see Arnold Schwarzenegger on the bill, they'd go see it. Yeah. And so when they did interviews, you could tell, like going back to say, you can tell who you're going to like within the first 5 minutes. Well, it's very contrast. Harrison Ford was very humble about a lot of things, and he would be more than happy. He's the kind of guy that'll sit down and have soup, salad, and breadsticks with you at the Olive Garden, as opposed to Arnold, who was very boisterous and blusterful. What is the word? Blustery. And I said to my dad, I said, he doesn't act. And I said to my dad, I said about Harrison Ford, I said, he doesn't act like Han Solo. And he goes, well, that's not, he just plays a character. And then years later I said, God damn, Arnold's kind of a dick. And my dad's like, yeah, he's kind of a jerk. He's not somebody you'd want to have a sandwich with on the job site. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. And so while
really rapey back in the day too.
Yeah, well, besides that, so while I have nothing against Mr. Schwarzenegger personally, I'm not going to have dinner with him anytime soon, even if he paid me. Now, if Harrison Ford says, hey, man, I know I've noticed that you've been a fan of mine for a long time. You want to go out to dinner with me and the missus, or, who is every date? And I was like, yeah, can I pay the bill? No. Okay, sure. What are we going to have? And he would just, and he doesn't, and I'm, you don't bullshit with him. But you say, hey, I grew up with you as Han Solo. I'm so glad you did other stuff besides that, and I like these movies, but how are you doing? I mean, how are you as Harrison Ford a person? And that would just blow him the fuck away, I'm sure. And he's probably had people that have asked him that, because he's been humanized through interviews and through one-on-ones, and like the guy as a person. I mean, I remember when he crashed his plane the last time, and I said to my mom, like, maybe his eyesight's just going bad. And she goes, well, he is over 70. And you felt for them. It's like, anybody, you get a certain age, things start to go. So if you're flying a plane, your eyesight's not all that great, and you crash it, yeah, you can relate to that. As opposed to Arnold, who's more of like, oh yeah, I was flying the plane. I knew what I was doing. My eyes aren't that bad. There's something wrong with the plane. And it's kind of like, yeah, don't bullshit me.
What was it? The other day on VR chat, I met some dude who was like 28, 29, and he was like complaining that apparently he'd had some unfortunate intestinal issues in the restroom, and that he was a little sore. And I'm like, yeah, dude, after 30, your life revolves around your butthole way more than you would ever expect. Buy Preparation H and have it on hand, Bubba.
Oh,
you're gonna need that.
It's one of those things. Yeah, and I'm seeing, and I can relate to that in a way. It's like I'm trying to lose a lot of weight, so it's kind of like I've got to know the quickest route to the bathroom while I'm at the gym, especially that they're doing construction and fixing stuff and changing the place around. So it's like, so when I go to the gym, it's kind of like, all right, I got to have my 3 bottles. I got to have my pre-workout, my post-workout, and a gallon of water, and I've got to know where all the exits to the bathrooms are at all times, because the second that I'm done with elliptical and I drink that big swig of water, my kidneys are like, all right, let's go pee now. And it's like, God damn it, now I got to walk halfway across the building. So yeah, that's just the way it goes. And
Yep.
it's also one of the things, like, I'm not usually up at 2:22 in the morning Central Time. I'm usually in bed by now, but I got a call from my daughter today, and she passed her test. She got her rank in the USAF, and I was, I'm super fucking excited and shit. And I'm very proud of her. And I'm in a new relationship because I had some other issues, which I'm not going to talk about, but I'm in a new relationship, and it's kind of like I'm kind of like on a little bit of a long-term runner's high right now, so to speak. Because I do go to the gym and I try to lose weight, but it's like I'm really high right now, and it has nothing to do with drugs. So, and that's what I want for other people. But, getting back to things, it's like when celebrities and musicians and now so much more so internet personalities are humanized, that really draws the line where who is a fan and who is a good fan and who is a fair weather fan.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is, when you're talking about being in a new relationship, I was struck by the similarity of people meeting their heroes or celebrities or whatever, and gushing over them sort of, and not seeing them as people, and how it's similar to the sort of nice guy thing. Like the nice guy who puts the person on the pedestal.
Yeah.
Treats them as like a porcelain doll. They're perfect. They can do no wrong. It's very off-putting because like you don't have room to be like a human being. And I would imagine that's also part of what puts off celebrities when it comes to meeting fans, is like suddenly you got this fan who has this image of you as way more perfect than you'll ever be. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, actually, and that's and that's
that'd be really uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's one of the good things about social media is I follow certain people, and social media, especially Twitter, is the best. Twitter is like fucking text messaging. That's basically all it is: glorified text messaging with pictures and data mining. And I follow some people, and you can just tell by their responses how good people are and how down earth they are and how much big of an assholes they are. Because one of the people that I follow is I follow, and I'm not and when I say what I'm about to say, please understand, do not give this guy any crap. I think him and his cohort are great guys. I've talked to them on Twitter. Good guys, so I'm making a very positive, realistic example. I follow Pat the NES Punk and his buddy Ian. And Pat is a very nice guy. He's very down to earth. Ian is a more meek. He's very meek. He's not a pussy. He's meek, but he has such a damn good sense of humor. And I tried to do some business with him, and he says, no, we can't ship out to Iowa. And I'm like, shit. And he goes, I'm sorry, but this is a local business here and all this, and we don't have the capability to ship games out to Iowa. And I said, oh, okay, that's cool. And that showed me how cool Ian was, because he's very straightforward and honest, and Pat is a very nice guy. And these are people that, like I said, to go back to something I said earlier, these are guys I'd have lunch with, and I wouldn't have to be a super geek because they know I'm a fan of theirs, and they're the type of people that you don't have to worry about ever putting on a pedestal, because they are very straightforward, down to earth, honest folk. And as opposed to the flip side, I put Spoony on a pedestal for a long time. I thought his videos were just the fucking greatest, and then he turns around and does the shit he's done. And it's kind of like, okay, I think I've learned my lesson, because when you like with music, you go through this, with movies, you go through this, and with internet celebrities now, you go through this. And you know who the good ones are, and you know the ones who you do not want to put on a pedestal for whatever reason. And it's just something to easily avoid, and it's something that we all do because it's a new form of communication, so to speak, for us. Is to where we used to just have authors, musicians, and movie stars. Well, now we have authors, musicians, movie stars, internet personalities. And these internet personalities are becoming bigger than the preceding three. So when I say I've talked to Pat Contry on Twitter, you can just tell by his tweets. He's and you can just tell by the way he presents himself when he does his unnecessary podcast with Ian. And you can tell that when you talk to Ian, he's very cool about stuff, and they're very nice guys. You treat them with respect. You don't treat them like they're porcelain. You treat these dudes with respect because they're good to you. They are good to your fan base. And then when I said I always liked Noah Antweiler, I like Spoony, but I had seen some of the shit he's done. It's like, well, he's got his own personal life. I don't fuck with. I don't piss him off. I don't mess with him. I leave the man alone. and I learned what not to do. I went through that cycle of, I put this guy on a pedestal, and it's like, okay, nope, I fucked up. So
yeah,
there you go.
What's funny, Psycho was talking about he grew up in Southern California, so he's met fairly interesting group of people in Hollywood. Like, I guess he's talking about how, like, growing up down there, you're like, everybody's connected to somebody famous somehow through like some family or friend thing.
Yeah.
And so it's much harder to be, he's much less likely to be starstruck.
Who is?
Psycho, because he's met celebrities and stuff like that. Countless celebrities.
I don't think I could be starstruck. In fact, the last time I was really starstruck, and I'm glad I got over this shit real quick, because again, Twitter reveals the dark side of humanity better than anything besides 4chan.
Mm-hmm.
When Jennifer Lawrence was really starting to make movies, I really had the biggest heart on for her, and that pissed my wife off at the time. But I said, "What the fuck what are you getting on my ass for? You always, cream yourself when fucking Denzel Washington's on the, fucking screen." She goes, "I do not," and she does, and she probably still does. But then, unlike Denzel, Jennifer Lawrence opens her pie hole trying to tell people what to do about specific politics on Twitter. And it's kind of like, oh, you fucking, you blew it. I
like Denzel Washington when it comes to politics. That dude is pretty gangster.
Well, that's the thing. Denzel Washington is not one trying to tell you how to live your life. He's just basically stating what he thinks. He's stating his opinion, and he says, "Hey, it's just my opinion." Yeah. Jennifer Lawrence is basically saying people need to do this, people need to do that, and blah blah blah. It's like, you made how many millions of dollars for your last bullshit movie, and you're whining about stuff that you think is unfair? Bitch, come to Iowa and live in the Farm Belt and without your millions of dollars, and then we'll see if your attitude changes, which it would. Denzel Washington would be the type of person I'd rather have him come to Iowa, live in the Farm Belt, and even if he had his multi-millions of dollars, he'd still be like, "Yeah, this is just my opinion on politics. Take it or leave it. No big deal." And I'm not a fan of his movies, but he's not a dick. Jennifer Lawrence, she shattered these. I was starstruck over her for a few reasons, because I thought, she's really going to go places. And then she opens her pie hole on Twitter, and it's like, womp womp.
Yeah, what is it? One of my favorite things to do is there's a couple of different comedians, 3 of them, who are actually fairly well known, who you can really fuck with on Twitter, and they'll get into it over politics, and it's kind of hilarious. Christopher Titus, Dana Gould, I should say, not Gold.
Yeah.
Gould. That fucking Australian fella, Jim Jeffries. And they're all like super, super left wing. So it's fairly amusing if you're ever bored to follow them, because they are funny comedians. Like to be clear, they're very talented. I like their stuff. Like, I'll watch their stand up all the time. I can just ignore the political parts that are silly or whatever, or preachy, didactic. But
unlike Patton Oswalt, who is not funny, irritating as fuck, and doesn't know how to shut up.
Well, he used to be funny though.
Well, that dude was my favorite comedian for like 20 years, and now I can't fucking stand the guy.
Yeah, I think the last time I thought he was funny is when he had his little stupid-ass one-liners in Blade Trinity. And honestly, I think Ryan Reynolds is kind of going that route too, where he's starting to stick his nose where it doesn't belong, which is why people say that are the fan base saying, "Hey, shut the fuck up. We don't want to hear about your politics and you telling us what to do. Make your damn movies and entertain us, bitch. That's what you get paid for." And so it's hard for me to watch any Marvel movie with Chris Evans and Mark Ruffalo in it unless the acting and directing is really good. Mark Ruffalo is this uber liberal who has all these multi-millions of dollars, and it's kind of like, dude, you shut the fuck up. But I was hesitant to watch Thor Ragnarok because he's in it, and it's kind of like, oh god, I want to watch this, but I don't want to be taken out of it. because Mark Ruffalo's a liberal loudmouth and all this other shit that doesn't know anything outside of his own bubble. And then I end up watching it, and because it was so well written, it was so well directed, the director's in it as Korg, and he actually was more entertaining than fucking 99% of the other people in the movie, and it was solid. And and you could tell that the actors and actresses put all their heart into that movie, and it's like my suspension of disbelief was there. It's fine, great. I like this movie. I don't care that Ruffalo's in it. If I saw him on the street, I'd be like, hey, Ruffalo, bam, I'd knock him out. Yeah, shut the fuck up. Don't tell us how to live. Oh, by the way, you're great in Thor. You're fucking hilarious. And and when he delivers his lines, it's like I'm intentionally on I'm on an alien planet intentionally designed to stress me out. It's kind of like, yeah, you buy that, you know, but I'd still fucking knock his ass out. Just be like, shut your fucking pie hole, pal. I don't care about your politics. Don't tell me what to do. But by the way, you're good in Thor Ragnarok. You and Chris Hemsworth bounced off each other quite well, you know. And that's one of those things.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun. Ragnarok was good.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best Marvel movies I've seen in the since Winter Soldier, to be honest, because I think they've become a little formulaic.
Exactly. They kind of deviated from the real standard formula, and they just realized they made it a slugfest action-packed film.
Yeah, well, they are going to do the Infinity War thing, though, right? That's coming.
Oh yeah, they're doing that, and I don't go out and watch movies. I actually either pirate them or I buy them after my local rental place has rented them for a month, and then I get them dirt cheap for a combo pack at like $10 instead of $25.
Same. Yeah, 11 days for Infinity War comes out on the 26th.
Yeah, that one I want to watch, dude. That's one of my favorite storylines ever.
And I'm waiting to hear from people how this first part goes, because I want to see if anybody dies and realize it's going to be nothing like the comic book right off the bat.
Yeah, that was kind of what bugged me, like, about the Civil War thing. I'm like, dude, that storyline was pretty good. Like, the reason for the Civil War or whatever was pretty good. Like, I don't know why you had to switch that to that fucking stupid shit.
Actually, I don't know if you're talking about the movie being better than the comic, because I hated the comic. That was where Marvel started going into make everything political, speak on everything that's going on with the American society, pre-Obama shit, and kissing his ass. I thought I thought Captain America Civil War was good because
the reason for the Civil War is what I'm talking about. Like, I thought they had a pretty good reason for it in the comic, what they're fighting over. You know what I mean? That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, and then later on they decided to go into a bunch of stuff that reflected modern America at the time. But that's one of the things that I've always said to people when people said, "Hey man, I wish if people could have superheroes." I said, "Oh man, I said fucking 5 minutes it'd be Civil War. What are you talking about?" Well, there'd be an incident, and then you'd either have to register with the government or you'd be considered outlaws and hunted by those. Well, that's not how it happens. That's exactly how it happens. That's how anything happens in the real world that is not within the realm of comic books. People fucking choose sides all the time, and very often they do not bother to see the whole picture.
No, and that's what's going on with the current sort of social climate, in the United States. It's just people who can't accept that, there are some extremists on all the different sides of each topic, but the majority of people are just decent people who fucking want to make the world better, have a decent job, have a decent house, raise fat, happy babies, and fucking die with grandkids.
Yeah, and I think Gen X specifically is part of the solution and the problem. The baby boomers are trying to take everything on the way out. In fact, when celebrities started dying left, right, and center a few years back, I said, "You realize all these people are baby boomers?" They're like, "Yeah." It's like, this is going to continually happen. The largest population in the history of the world is getting ready to start biting it, and they're going to take whatever they can with them. And then Gen X is basically, there are less people born in Gen X than the baby boom generation. And we were the last generation that basically had the semblance of, we learned what not to do from the 2 to 3 generations before us, and now the millennials are more butt fuck stupid than we are on a certain levels. This isn't all of them.
I think I just barely missed being a millennial.
Yeah, well, I was born in literally mid 70s, and I was thank Christ I was a Gen Xer. Because I've seen, my daughter's a millennial, but she also serves in the Air Force because she grew up in a non-coast city. Thank you very much, and I think that does make the big difference.
Yeah, well, I was in 1980 on the dot, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, the shit you're into, I think you're Gen X, regardless of when you were fucking born.
I think yeah.
So my point is, Gen X really was the last bastion, and I think we failed on a certain level to say to people, hey, the biggest example is with the usage of language in specific derogatory terms. It's kind of like, I was never raised to say this stuff because I've heard my grandparents saying, what do you even say that for? It's, it's stupid. It's like, well, that's just how our generation talks. They go, okay. And then now all these millennials are doing all the same crap that my grandparents did on a certain level, even worse because they are overly entitled shitbags. Now, not all of them, but when people say Gen X was this, they're putting us all in one basket. And when they say baby boomers are such thing, they're putting all the baby boomers in one basket. So when I say, well, you've got a large portion of millennials acting like assholes, well, I'm sorry, you got to be thrown in that that basket with those bad apples, but that's the way it goes because it was done to Gen X. They considered us stupid stoners and want to be hippies and all this other shit. And I was in Iowa, and it's kind of like, I'm a fucking conservative, douchebags. I listen to heavy metal because I have anger management issues, and so when I go to the gym, I rock out with my cock out listening to Megadeth. But when I come home, I'm calm, I'm relaxed, and it's okay, I've got X amount of dollars. I need to buy X amount of groceries and save some for later.
And I don't think a lot of people get that. I know that was kind of a side comment what you were saying there, but yeah, listening to the fucking heavy metal shit actually calms me down, dude.
Well, that's the point. Heavy metal, and we're not going to go on a tangent here, but certain things are designed to rev us up, and when you run out of kinetic energy, because humans are kinetic beings by nature. When you run out of kinetic energy, you have that release and you have that stress level. It's gone. You're kind of like, man, that's what does it for me. And you're able to think logically, and you're able to say, okay, now I can deal with this certain situation. And I think the problem is millennials don't have that filter, and a large portion of them, which are damn good kids, are getting shot in the ass because of the other idiots. And it's like, well, we can't stand up and tell them, Gen X, we can't tell you what to do because you'll bitch at us. So you need to go tell your other contemporaries to sit their asses down, because the stupid shit we didn't do it on, there were no cell phones with cameras. Now everybody else has cell phones and cameras, and they're doing stupid shit, and it's there to embarrass them for all time. It's like, yeah, go ahead, fuckhead. Good luck. I'm glad I'm Gen X. I don't have to deal with this shit. And that's how I look at a lot of things. It's, you're going to tell me what to do? Fuck you, man. I'm too old to give a shit what you think. I don't have to give a shit. That's
Yeah, Gen X was kind of like a big part of Gen X was the sort of like not really concerned about other people's opinions.
Yeah, or not
hallmarks of that generation.
Yeah.
Well, we were considered apathetic for a specific reason, because what we were rebelling at the them was the hypocrisy of the baby boom generation being the massive liberals and hippies, and then realizing, realizing, oh, I've got to go out and get a job. And what did a large portion of them do? Go into politics and business and become fucking yuppies.
Yeah.
But we didn't trust them. Now we've got millennials, because of the internet age and everybody having cell phones on the cameras, thinking, yeah, we can do what we want, say what we want. We don't give a shit that it's on camera. We're never going to be embarrassed by it. Well, guess what, bitches? You're now starting to look back and realize, oh my God, every single retarded thing I ever did is on camera for all time. And I'm like, you can't touch me because I wasn't there. So.
This show is about tangents. I just want to address one of the things put out in the chat. I don't know who R. Lee Ermey is.
What is your major malfunction, Private Pile?
Oh, that dude.
Yeah,
and Art Bell as well. Art Bell both passed away. Art Bell passed away on Friday the 13th, which I'm sure he would have appreciated. And I want to, Mad Metal Man brought that up, and I just had to mention that just because, like, those guys were. I didn't remember who Ermi was, but fucking yeah. Now that I know, both those guys were just amazing.
Yeah. Dude, still my favorite line out of all of his Arlie Ermi in Seven. I don't know why this always sticks with me, but there's a scene where he's in there and the phone's ringing, and he picks up the phone and says, "This is not even my desk," and just hangs the phone back up. I just fucking love that fucking scene, dude.
Sorry, Dave, to interrupt. I just wanted to.
No, that's fine. I think we pretty much ran the course on what we were talking about anyway. And honestly, I didn't know who the fuck Art Bell was until just now. I don't think I ever heard him from Coast to Coast AM.
Oh, anytime I couldn't sleep.
Okay.
For the last like fucking 20 years.
So no disrespect.
That's what I would listen to. Is
no Art disrespect Bell to the late Art Bell. I just didn't know who he was.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Coast to Coast with Art Bell. Him and George Norrie are the two main people for that sort of genre, and I don't know that they'll ever be able to replace Art Bell, to be honest. Because I think that sort of conspiracy theory radio is going the way of the dodo. I mean, I'm sure there'll be something on like YouTube or something else, but
well, no, there is. There's like Secure Team 10 is actually does well. They do all right. There's stuff out there that's doing okay. Yeah. Although again, even them, they'll put out some shit where you're like, dude, this is obviously fucking fake.
Yeah.
Like, why you're like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, you fucking know that's fake. You just need to make a video.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. Well, conspiracy theories is I don't know. There's a lot of them, but it's also a finite amount of material to really go with.
You'd think so.
I think one of the things
that people, interesting ones anyway.
One of the things that people need to remember about conspiracy theories is that and I know this is about to seem a little weird that I'm about to say this, but normally when you have a conspiracy theory, the reason that you have it is because there's actually some factual evidence there that causes it to come into form because it's not as far-fetched as you think it is. So a conspiracy theory, unless you're really a fucking whack job, is not necessarily a conspiracy theory. It is a what-if scenario being presented in its fullest based on some factual data that already does exist and has gotten into your hands, so to speak.
Oh, I'm all about the what ifs, dude. I'm like, hey, this is technically possible. Like, I come up with some weird scenarios, dude, but that are again technically possible, although maybe unlikely a lot of times.
Oh yeah.
Well, I've said to people, I said, everybody's like automation, and it's kind of like, it's like this is why you never take humans out of the situation in regards to war, the theater of war and combat and everything else. Otherwise, and drones and all that shit. Otherwise, you end up with Terminators. They go, that's just the movie. And I go, well, some people would consider that conspiracy theory if they're able to use AI a certain way right now, right? Oh. And they're like, yeah. And I go, well, is it unrealistic to think that a movie has inspired an actual thing to happen? Because we've, cell phones came from people seeing Star Trek with the communicators. Well, that's just a theory. And I go, yeah, it's the kind you don't want to fucking mess with.
You know what? I'm not worried about Terminator.
No, I'm just making an example.
It's a logical. It's correct logically, but like quite frankly, I have a computer that can like randomly fuck up all the time for no apparent reason with no outside influence. I mean, what's going to happen when the death machine has a fucking glitch and decides the wrong side is the enemy? Or you don't even need like AI for that to be an obviously incredibly bad idea.
We already had we've already within the last year had one of the biggest and best examples of why you can't trust AI when Uber decided to go driverless and they killed the person on a bike because that AI was set within specific parameters to do something, yet it didn't factor in, it didn't calculate in the human factor of, well, how do you know traffic's going to be the same all the way? Well, the reason that fucking car hit the person on the bike is because that cyclist was not following the parameters of what that driverless car was set to design to react to.
Yeah.
This is why AI can never be fully trusted. And especially in regards to that, it's like I mean, they've got these driverless fucking 18-wheel trucks. I'm like, bitch, you better put somebody behind the wheel, motherfucker, because you're not driving next to my car. I'll whip out my Walther PPQ 9mm and blow your fucking tires out in the middle of the highway. I don't trust you.
Yeah. Well, the only way you could have driverless vehicles is if they had their own specific rail system, similar to trains.
Yeah,
and even then, you have to have somebody monitoring.
Well, yeah, you'd have to have a monitoring. And if they had their own route to where people couldn't drive, that would be something different too. But that's not realistic.
No, I know it's not realistic. I'm saying just
no. I'm saying that's not realistic. Not what you're saying is not realistic. I'm saying that's not realistic because people are going to travel where they want to travel. If you get up in the morning, you go outside your door, you can go 3 different routes. You can go literally 4 routes. You can go back into your house, you can turn left, you can turn right, or you can go forward. And that's just, and you may not even think about that. It may be instantaneous habit. Like when I get up in the morning, I go down, now that I live in an apartment, I go down the stairwell, I automatically swing a right, get in my car, go to work.
Yeah. Sort of like how you always put your pants on one leg, like the one leg it's always the same leg first.
Yeah, and that's what automation and AI cannot do. They can now. Don't get me wrong. We do have AI on a certain level, especially when it comes to stuff like the video games and everything else like that. Because it has to exist because that's how certain programs run these days. But they're not going to get up and just go up and get up out of bed, eat breakfast, put their clothes on, and then go down a stairwell and turn right and go to work. They're going to be like, oh, well, AI lives within a specific boundary of rules, regulations, and laws. Humans, we do not on a certain level.
Oh man, that the one disappointing thing about that is, how are we going to get our sex bots? Because you don't want AI. I mean, eventually they might just bite.
On that particular level, I don't want real dolls to have AI because one of the problems that men and women have now is lack of communication. And I'm not going to go politics here. I'm just saying the reason stuff like MGTOW exists is because certain ideas get into people's heads and lack of communication has fallen through the floor. And this is why men will go, and some women, men and women both go to sex with inanimate objects because they're not having their desires filled by real people because of stupid outside influence type shit. I don't want a fucking sex bot that looks like Jennifer Lawrence and has an opinion like Jennifer Lawrence. For example,
I think
of course, I don't want a robot like Bender. I don't want a robot like fucking Bender Rodriguez from Futurama walking around either, trying to find a suicide booth. So there you go.
Yeah, well, I think most people when they picture sex robots, they assume a lot less personality, more like just you go up and tell it what you want to do and it does or something like that. Like it simulates, but not like a real AI kind of thing. Well,
see, that's kind of the thing about prostitutes as well, is because there are men at certain age, they don't want to have sex. They want companionship. And a sex bot is designed specifically for sexual, activity. And even though you could set it on a couch and it can watch TV, it's still not getting anything out of watching a TV show or a movie with you
even with exceptional AI, it really still wouldn't,
Exactly. I mean, you can go find a prostitute and say, hey, look, I want some company. I'm just working all the time. I don't have time for a real relationship. What do you charge per night? Well, they say X amount of dollars, hundreds of dollars per night. And say, oh, okay, cool. I want to purchase your services. And everybody's like, oh, you're getting a prostitute for the night. And, I've read articles and I've seen videos that one of the things that prostitutes are actually more than happy to do is take your $500 for the night, and all they're doing is hanging out with you, playing video games or watching a movie, eating a nice meal, maybe getting a little touchy-feely, but not having to put out.
Yeah.
Because people want, this is why it's initially called an escort service, because people, male and female, both want companionship. That's all there is to it. And a sex box sex bot, no matter what, even the advanced AI that it can or probably will have in the future, cannot emulate that. Sorry.
The one benefit of a sex bot would be for like unruly teenagers. Just fucking get them their little robot.
That's what tranquilizers are for. Shoot them in the ass. You're out. Good night.
You know, then you at least have something that can clean up after them. You know, while they're in that lovely teenage set of years where you're going through all the tissues.
Well, you know, that's kind of the thing about being a dad. I have a daughter, and my ex-wife was cleaning her room, and she found her stuff, and we sat her down at the table, and I said, "What's this?" She goes, "Well, you know what it is." And I said, "I know, but why are you using this?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Okay, that's fine." And she was expecting to get read the riot act. It's like, why would I yell at you for using a sex toy as opposed to going out and getting pregnant when you can't, when you're not even out of high school yet? No, I would never, especially say to a woman, especially a young girl in high school, yeah, if you want to, you know, piddle yourself with dildos, go ahead. I'm not going to tell you no, because the alternative, you've seen what the alternative is, and you can't afford that. And that's the same I would say to a young boy is, if you want a pocket pussy, go get one, because you can't afford to raise a child yet because you don't have a fucking job.
Yeah. I think the only lecture you really want to have at that point is just how to maintain like sanitary.
Well, that was
so
between,
make sure it's cleaned and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Dad can tell the son and mom can tell the daughter, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. And that's, yeah, exactly. And so I remember that happening, and I walked out of the room and I went in and I was reading a book, but I could hear everything. And my daughter actually said, well, I'm surprised Dad didn't have a heart attack or a freak fit. And she goes, well, he's a very understanding guy. He'd rather, you know, that you piddle yourself, you know, than have some guy try to get his, you know, his dick in your pants, especially when you're not into guys in the first place. And it's kind of like, yeah, because that, you know, so for my daughter to do that, for any young woman to do that, as opposed to a guy trying to get her pants off when nobody wants to, you know, yeah, especially in today's day and age. And it's not so much with sexually transmitted diseases, it's the fact that society is in a paradigm shift on a massive scale, and it's better to, and it's kind of going back to it's better to have a job and some money in your pocket before you have kids, as to where in Gen X we were fooling around all the time, but depending on where you're
slowly coming back to favoring employment over unemployment.
Yeah. So you want to raise a wolf or wolves as opposed to rabbits.
Yeah.
Which, if people out there don't understand what that means, it's better to have one or two children and raise them as a wolf or wolves, where they realize that the food is in very limited supply, although, you know, to an extent, and go out and make their fortune, as opposed to raising rabbits to where you have sex all the time, and then you can't barely afford to have the kids in the first place, and then you rely upon government assistance all the time and get stuck in that cycle of poverty, because the government will always provide food to a certain amount, and then you go ahead and have more kids and draw on more welfare. I'd rather have a daughter who's a wolf than a daughter who's a rabbit.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and you know, part of the issue with the millennials is they were raised in such a way of, you know, thou can do no wrong.
Well, they were raised to believe,
extreme way.
Well, they were also raised to believe that everything that, because they've got Gen X parents who actually held on to their stuff as kids for the most part, that America is the land of plenty. When this is one of the reasons that I said we need to tell immigration to tell everybody to fuck off, is the reason that we act like we have all these unlimited supplies, but we don't, and this is why we get bad food and we get fat kids and fat adults.
Yeah,
because we have to make synthetic shit, and and we can't afford that. We can't afford the land, we can't afford the resources, and we can't afford the food sources to go into people who are coming to this country that don't need to fucking be here.
To some extent, that's true. Like, we do need to stop rampant immigration. It's fucking insane. we can't support that. You can't bring the third world country into the first world and expect the first world to stay a first world country. But as far as the food goes, there's a substantial amount of people who are being paid to grow nothing or just to grow corn that really could be growing any other kind of food that would make a huge difference in like just the quality and the health value of food out there on the market right now.
Yeah. One of the things I went down to my local Hy-Vee, and one of the things I was bitching at them is they wanted they were at the time about over a little three and a half for a dozen of eggs, and I'm like, what, are you fucking kidding me? There's no avian flu, no chickens are dying, no turkeys are dying, and you're expecting me to pay near over 3.5 for a fucking dozen eggs? No, fuck you guys. And eggs are the cheapest source of protein out there, not because they're cheap because it's mass produced by chickens. It's because it's you buy 12, you can eat X amount a day per your protein requirements. You don't have to actually slaughter an animal, so to speak. And yet they want to charge near $4 for a fucking dozen. Fuck you guys. You know, that's what I told them. And I went to a place that said, oh, these, and we all know that you can get eggs expired by a week and they're still good for another 2 weeks. And they sold them to me for literally 4 dozen eggs for 75 cents each. And I'm like, yeah, fuck y'all. I don't care that they're a week overdue. I'm sticking them in the fridge for another 3 weeks. They'll be fine. And I was right.
If you were able to find farm eggs that haven't been washed, they'd be good even longer. There's a protective coating on the outside of the shell when the egg comes out that is generally washed off, because there's also a lot of times there will be like little fucking bits of bird poop and stuff on there, you know, and pieces of whatever they put on the ground, like straw or whatever. But that coating actually will keep them good even longer. So most of the stuff you get in the stores is all washed. That's why it goes bad so quick. Yeah.
And yeah, farm fresh eggs, especially in Iowa. You can go. I've got Mexican neighbors in my own neighborhood. They literally, that's all they do is raise chickens. They have roosters and chickens, and they're selling your eggs. Now, when they sell you a dozen eggs, they're the fucking all natural jumbo eggs. They will sell you 6 for $4. And some people say, well, that's a little bit high. I said, are you fucking kidding me? That's great, because these things are about as huge as my fucking head. But I don't always have time to go up to my next Mexican neighbors and say, hey, man, can I buy, 6 eggs for whatever? And they don't always have it because they're always selling them. So, there you go.
Well, just chickens in general are also fairly easy to raise, throw out some fucking feed and stuff. They're not as hard to raise as a lot of people think. It's just most people can't because most city people can't because they're not allowed. But potentially, a lot of the food issues are regulated into place, essentially. Because we have a backyard, we could be raising half a dozen chickens easily.
Oh yeah.
We grow all sorts of vegetables every year. I mean, it's yeah.
So we've covered a gamut of subjects, starting off with people being assholes. It's 1 a.m. It's 1:01 a.m. 1:01 a.m. where I'm at, and I've got to get to bed soon. Is there anything you guys want to ask me or comment on before I head out?
No, I think you're good, man. Appreciate you stopping by.
All right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna. If anybody's listening to this in the near future, you can find me at DadeLMurphy85 on Twitter. I'll have Gab AI, and you can find me at Captain Dadepool, which that name is sticking, by the way, here on YouTube. And yeah, it's just, I think the only thing I'm gonna have to say is it's gonna be kind of hard to watch some old Channel Awesome videos. I'm gonna have to start really fine tuning and purging a lot of shit. So
oh yeah, absolutely.
This is an example. If you guys haven't seen my vlog about Channel Awesome Rust in Peace, please do so. I think I describe my frustration and being pissed off with that a little more succinctly there and why. So thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, man.
On, brother.
All right, have a good night, guys. Bye.
You too. All right.
Yeah.
Back down to us. Leave a message over in the chat. Hey.
Yeah. And you're just in time. I think everyone else went off. Yeah, Mad Metal was out. I haven't heard from Psycho or I think that was the only other one that was here, right? Akinaro. I don't know if Akinaro's still listening, but Yeah. Good to have you, Stench
We
Ever.
covered all the things, almost all the things. What else is there left to say?
Yeah. What else we got?
Well, I don't know about you, but I am definitely looking forward to Super Troopers 2 on April 20th.
Right. Yeah, that first movie was so goddamn funny, dude.
Oh yeah, and
It's gonna be tough to top it, but
Broken Lizard.
Yeah.
Those guys are fucking awesome too. Like
Yeah.
all their movies are great.
Yeah, Beer Fest was fucking amazing. God damn.
Oh, I really wish that they had made, and they may still make it. They may get a chance. Who knows? If Super Troopers 2 does well enough, maybe they'll get a shot. But they were alluding to a weed fest.
Oh, nice.
At the end of Beer Fest, with Willie Nelson being like, "Hey guys, I need somebody to take my spot and fucking weed fest or something."
Yeah, that would be fucking awesome, dude.
So that would be pretty fucking epic. Definitely looking forward to Infinity War just to see where that goes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like I said, there's definitely been shit that they've done in the movies that just kind of irritated me. I think the biggest one, I don't know if I mentioned it here or not, but what they did with the Jean Grey Phoenix thing really bugged me. What they did in the movie, instead of having it actually being that kind of cosmic force, the Phoenix Force or whatever,
it was just
replaced it
part
with,
of her.
She's got split personalities. Like that fucking.
That was really lame.
I fucking hated that, dude. I was
it made
so
it a
fucking
lot less sinister.
Right? Yeah, dude. Like, dude, she was paired with this cosmic force that could fucking destroy fucking galaxies and fucking swallow an entire fucking sun. And now you're changing that to she's too powerful. We had to give her split personalities.
Yeah, it was much cooler when it was like this alien presence that she had to fight and get rid of.
Yeah,
in order to control her own body and mind.
Yeah, it was essentially taking
more of an
over.
epic battle than just like, well, sometimes she's really angry.
Yeah. I don't know that anything in any movie being different than the books has irritated me anywhere near as much as that, dude.
A Wrinkle in Time was blackwashed pretty badly. It changed all the characters to be different races, and then they all had to be minorities instead of white kids like they were in the book. But then what's interesting is A Wrinkle in Time had a lot of controversy around the book when it originally came out over a lot of the stuff about Christianity in it.
All right.
There's a lot of religious aspects to the book. And they completely removed that from the movie as far as what I've seen. So like I didn't even bother to go see it in the theater because I'm like, well, they took all the things that made it controversial and interesting and worthwhile out of the movie, out of the book, and when they made it into a movie. And not uncommon, but it was just kind of like satisfying to see that movie sort of, what was it, made 30 mil in the box office, cost 100 and some odd, 130 to make.
Not damn, so dude.
It'll probably break about even. Maybe you'll make a couple million in profit over over like the time and DVD sales and all that stuff,
right?
In foreign markets.
I think that's a big part of the problem nowadays is they want to avoid offending anyone, so they're not going to do anything remotely controversial.
Well, have you seen the live action Teen Titans stuff on Twitter?
No.
Holy shit! Okay. Let me see if I can find some of that stuff because that is fucking
just sad or what?
Fucking hideous.
God damn, dude.
Okay. Oh, here we go. I'm trying to find the picture that shows the characters without like the jokes and stuff on Twitter. All right, here we go. This is the characters.
Wow.
She just looks like a hooker.
Yeah. Seriously.
Starfire Raven looks like a tranny, and the Beast, I don't know, he just looks so bland.
Right. Yeah. He's got the green
actually a little bit Asian.
Yeah.
Well, he did it in the comics. He looked a little bit Asian, but his skin is not green. Like why is his skin not green?
Yeah, that
Why
is a
her
little
skin
weird.
not orange? Like I don't give a fuck who plays the character, but the
Yeah,
character's skin was orange.
yeah. You can put an orange tint on the black chick if you want. That should be possible, right?
Well, I mean, they made fucking what's that guy in fucking Christ, my brain melting. The Jarvis had the Infinity Stone and turned into the superhero. Darn it, from Iron Man, and then it went into like it's the superhero on that team, the Hulk. Oh, the Avengers.
All right, okay.
The one that has like the Infinity Stone on his forehead.
Yeah. Oh, is it the Vision?
I think that's what it is. The Vision. Like they didn't make that dude have just regular. Like they didn't just make him like some random person. They made him look like the fucking character.
Yeah, like the red face and all that.
Yeah. Like they did that for him. Why can't they do that for the Teen Titans and make them look like the actual characters?
Yeah.
That's much more entertaining to me.
Guardians of the Galaxy, fucking what's her name? The fucking the green chick, the blue chick, or they had no problem with that. They still like, I'd fuck the shit out of that green chick, dude.
But yeah, I mean that's one of those things that kind of blows my mind. Is like, it's not about like what race the actors are. It's like why didn't you make them look like the characters? This is it's not that expensive, and it's sort of unacceptable these days to have such a terrible fucking like lazy fucking characters,
that's I wonder if they were worried about getting shit because you're taking a black character and changing their fucking, you know what I mean? Like I wonder if that went into it. Like, no, you can't make her orange.
Well, Starfire was always based off of a European actress, like face and stuff like that. Like that's
for sure,
based off of white, features and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you could have had it played by whatever actress, but
she should be orange.
Make her orange,
or at least orange-ish. And how is Beast Boy not? Yeah, that's worse, I think, than the fucking Starfire one. Like Beast Boy should be all fucking green, dude.
Yeah, that's what makes him that's what makes him look unique and interesting.
Yeah. But no, he's got green frosted tips in his fucking hair. That'll work. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit, dude.
Yeah, Snatcher, which is the raccoon guy, is funny. Exactly, the fucking talking raccoon in the movie.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with that, dude.
It's like they just went super low budget on the show, essentially. Like they didn't put any effort into the show at all. So the storylines are going to be fucking awful and a waste of time.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a bunch of fucking identity politic bullshit.
Yeah, like Supergirl. Oh, man. So I tried to watch Supergirl.
Right.
And they had this fucking big thing. And this is back-to-back episodes. It was really fucking bizarre. In one thing, it was like this big thing about how on Krypton, because this guy wouldn't accept, didn't want her to help.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like this big thing about how on Krypton, it's the most honored thing in the world to be helped by other people.
Right.
It's a great honor. People are, thrilled about being helped by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the very next episode, she doesn't want anybody's help, and she gets really pissed off, and everybody needs to just like let her do it herself.
Oh and I'm like, God, dude,
did you not fucking have like a fucking script writer? Like, did nobody read that script and be like, maybe not back to back?
Right.
That's a fucking like 4 episodes when people forgot how dumb this one was.
Like, what the fuck? Did you fire the writers after episode 1?
It was really bad. It was so fucking bad, and it was like. It had a lot of potential. Like I could ignore the political nonsense if it's a good superhero show or movie or whatever.
Right.
Like I hear it, I register it, but I can just fucking ignore it, and it doesn't bother me. I want to watch the fight anyway.
Right.
The crazy fucking real human looking fight instead of the cartoon stuff that I was used to see when I was a kid. It's amazing.
Yeah. I still haven't watched season 2 of Jessica Jones, man.
Oh, I haven't gotten to the end of it yet. It's actually pretty fun. They didn't really get into any real super SJW type stuff in it.
Yeah, I just thought it would be tough. I thought it was going to be really tough for them to top the first season, dude. You know what I mean? That first season of Jessica Jones was fucking. I don't know how you felt about it, but I thought it was fucking spectacular, dude.
Oh, it was amazing. That was my favorite one of all the superhero stuff on Netflix.
Mm. Yeah,
I really, really liked the Iron Fist.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that yet either, man. I got to get on that.
Iron Fist was amazing, but Jessica Jones just slightly edged it out.
Nice.
Season 2 is not as good as season 1. It definitely isn't as good as season 1, but it's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would have been, like I said, it would have been really tough to top season 1, dude, or even match it, really.
The actors really make up for the poor storyline.
Oh, gotcha.
So the storyline isn't that great. It's kind of poorly written up. I'm not sure if that's the same as it is in the comics. Probably it's a lot different. But it's just not as strong.
Yeah.
It's sort of like not an origin story, but kind of an origin story.
Yeah, I've watched a couple episodes. Yeah, she's basically trying to find out how she got her powers and that kind of shit, like what the fuck they did to her.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than that. Like it eventually gets into more like sinister, weird, crazy shit, and it's a lot of fun. But you really got to fucking get over the hump of the middle of the season. But the acting makes up for it.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I kind of found issue with was it kind of fell into that trope of not having character progression.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So like the people didn't really learn any lessons from season 1 or change or not have the same exact flaws.
Oh, God.
So that's a little frustrating, but it's still a lot of fun to watch nonetheless.
Right on.
Oh, apparently there's a Lost in Space series on Netflix. I didn't know that.
No shit.
That sounds kind of fucking cool, man.
Right. Yeah, nah, hadn't heard of that at all, man.
Oh, I gotta fucking change my password and shit. Did I tell you my Netflix account got fucking hacked?
Oh, yeah. That sucks, man.
Wait, why would I not have my phone number? Jeez.
Right.
But yeah, I had to fucking call it up. So I had to, figure all of this stuff out, like my credit card and stuff, to verify it was actually me. And I had the satisfaction of knowing that for like a day, they basically kicked everyone off the account.
Oh, gotcha. Nobody was able to use it.
Yes, whoever stole my fucking account was basically stuck off of it. Yeah, no, apparently the season just came out like not that long ago. Okay, cool. Nice. I just wanted to check. So it's like a 13-episode series of Lost in Space. That sounds pretty fucking awesome. I'll have to definitely watch that shit.
All right. But yeah, I hadn't heard anything about that either, man. It's fucking crazy.
Stench ever had to quit 10 minutes in, so I'm sure it's going to be awful, but I at least want to watch it.
Yeah, you got to give it a chance.
I mean, even if it's bad, knowing that it's bad, I can at least enjoy the awfulness. Like there's movies I watch because they're terrible and I love them for being awful.
Yeah, the so bad it's good kind of thing, dude.
Yeah. Absolutely. The Crow 4, Wicked Prayer. Fucking love that movie. It is fucking awful. It is one of the worst movies ever made, and it's so fun.
Have you ever seen Cabin Fever? Have you seen that movie?
No. It sounds vaguely familiar. Did it have a?
Did you say Johnny Depp? No, I don't know.
Oh no, I think
it's awful. It's one of those. For me, I think the worst movie ever made. It's the only movie. I watched this back in back in the Blockbuster / Hollywood video days. It's literally the only movie I've ever rented that I wanted to ask for my money back. The reason I'm bringing it up is people kind of give it that same, it's the same. It's the so bad it's good thing, and I'm like, no, It was just fucking awful.
No.
You know? So
Well, like,
yeah, I
that's
was just
the
confused. That's why I was asking. I was like, well, maybe I'm the asshole. You know what I mean?
I've never
Maybe
seen it, but
is.
I would have to say, if I'm not mistaken, The Room still has the title for worst movie ever made.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen The Room.
Well, that's the one that the one guy, Tommy Wiseau, put out himself.
Oh, okay.
Like, I didn't hit her. No, I didn't. Hey guys, how's it going? You know, like this fucking weird disconnected shit, fucking the belly button kind of scenes. Like they had one sex scene in there, and it looked like the guy was literally humping her stomach. Because it was just so poorly shot. Like that's probably what they do, because otherwise, I mean, essentially, like, you know, how can you simulate sex really realistically, even with, you know, cod pieces or panties, and not have it be a little fucking.
No, it's so it's even worse than like softcore porn. Like you look at I remember watching like this, or not softcore porn, but you know, the movies that aren't actually porn. I don't know what the fuck they call them at this point, but yeah, it's like, wow, there's a lot of thigh humping going on in the scene.
Yeah,
you know, like, you can. It's obvious that they could not possibly be fucking.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's even worse than that.
Yeah, it's softcore. Was, I think, the correct title for it. At least it was when I was growing up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was thinking softcore porn was still porn.
Yeah, it was all the late night stuff on the premiums that you could get.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So it is. I don't know why I was thinking that wasn't correct.
Yeah, I don't think they call it porn. It's just softcore. Is generally like it's softcore porn, but it's softcore. I mean, I don't know.
That's what was.
Essentially, they're not having penetration, but it's all about the titties and the.
Yeah, you can't show it, but it won't show any penetration or any actual vag or cock.
Yeah. Some of that stuff, fucking, it looked like they may have actually been doing it.
Yeah, there's a lot more that's, again.
Oh yeah, the vast majority looks like they're thigh humping and belly button. But just every once in a while, there'd be one where they'd be like, I think those two might have fucked.
Right. I think they've been like, hey, for realism, let's just actually fuck. You're hot, I'm hot. Let's do it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's happened, at least on some films.
Yeah.
Well, and then most notably that one poor actress whose, you know, fucking name got just fucking destroyed because the guy filmed an actual blowjob in the movie. I forget what her name is.
Yeah, it's escaping me too, dude.
Yeah, but you know who I'm talking about. I think most people have probably heard of that at some point in some way.
Right.
But she legit like blows the dude and fucking swallows his load on the fucking scene. And I think it was so funny. Like, it's sad, but at the same time, it's kind of funny. Like, how did you not know that Hollywood was not going to be like, yeah, let's add porn to all the real fucking artsy films. That's a great plan.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's what they want. Like, you already have chicks who like will sign onto a movie, try to get as much of it shot without nudes as they can, and then try to refuse to do the nude scenes.
Right.
That's really common in a lot of films. Like, if you start throwing in actual live action porn in Hollywood type style fucking art films, that's definitely gonna go fucking south.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a bad idea.
Yeah, that's not going to work out well in the end for anybody. It's going to be lawsuits. There's going to be fucking criminal charges. Shit will go even worse than it normally does.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, dude, this is actual porn, dude. Like, what the fuck's the difference? The story's a little better.
Well, I mean, the acting would have to be better.
Right. Yeah.
You could get fucking Miss Johnson's third grade class to film, like, just do the acting parts, and it would be better than any of the acting in porn.
Yeah. Yeah, not a lot of porn character actors.
Yeah, no. Honestly, though, I think that would actually be really fun. If you could get, not like, maybe like 80s style afternoon programming, special effects level for like makeup and effects for films.
Right.
And like legit get like not the best actors, but like decent actors and actresses to do the porns. That could be so fun.
That'd be interesting, I guess, dude.
Well, you can tell some just wacky, bizarre stories that you would never be able to get into a Hollywood film, or a mainstream film or whatever in a porn because of the porn scenes. And you could actually make some really interesting art.
Right, right.
A rom-com where they're like legit fucking.
Right.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Check that out.
He finally realizes he loves her because she gives the better blowjobs,
Yeah, you gotta illustrate that to drive the point home with the audience.
Instead of like I really do love her. I'd be like, nah, dude, that chick gives the best head. What am I thinking?
Right. I can't stand the bitch, but goddamn, the fucking dome. The dome is amazing.
You could do a film like a rom-com where that was the big fucking defining moment. Like, you'd never get away with that in Hollywood, but you could easily do that in a porn.
Oh man, I hate her, but I love the love of the blowjob. Is so much better than my hatred of her. Like it overcomes it. It transcends. That's beautiful.
So good at anal.
Right. Oh, man.
Like, I watched that Camp Cuddly Pines Power Tool Massacre, and it actually wasn't the worst acting. It really wasn't that great, but the storyline was actually rather entertaining.
Yeah, I've only seen a couple scenes in it, but I think I know. I think I see what you're getting at. It's pretty comical.
Kind of awful.
Yeah,
the porn wasn't that great, but the acting and the scenes and the other parts were actually pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, a little over the top. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. Of course.
Yeah. It was definitely campy. Like that was what was attractive about it. But yeah, watching that at work was a little awkward.
Yeah.
At the middle of the night, and I'm fucking hanging out in the fucking living room of that house. This is before I was asleep overnights, when I was still doing graveyard shift.
All right.
And I'd only had so many movies loaded up on my thumb drive, and I needed something to watch to keep me occupied before I get to go home. I was like, well, I didn't realize this was a porn, but I'm in for it now.
Right. the story
drew. So if the clients come in, I can just close the computer before they can see it. I'll be fine.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, I just skipped all the porn because it was, like I said, really terrible porn.
Yeah, I think you had mentioned that. I know I'd watched it because of you, but I think I'd only seen like one.
Maybe if there's anything you do that's degenerate, it's probably like my influence.
Yeah. Well, no, that was pretty funny though, dude. It really was, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was pretty entertaining. It's not something I was going to spank it to, but
exactly. Yeah, it's not. That's why I'm saying it's terrible porn, because you didn't watch it and be like, God damn, I got to go fucking rub one out in the bathroom or something.
Yeah.
You just watch it and you're like, wow, that's some really old school porn. And not in the classic awesome way.
Right. But yeah, no, I guess I wonder. I'm trying to think of when it actually stopped, because again, they used to actually have fucking try to make legit stories. Yeah. I guess it was probably the 80s, right?
Well, there used to be more money and less studios.
Right.
So now it's a lot of independents.
And
money is kind of dried up because people can just steal scenes off the internet. Like, you can just go watch Pornhub for 10 minutes or whatever and jack off. No big deal.
Well, yeah, which reminds me, it is going to be really interesting to see how that impacts society for the kids that came up with such a readily available amount of porn.
Yeah,
to see what it's going to actually do to them, dude. How that's actually going to impact them.
You can see the progression of porn and like how face fucking is becoming like a big thing. Like, that was not like the fucking brutality and shit in some of the fucking scenes that people are into now.
Right.
That was not in porn, except extremely rare fetish stuff, like really small markets.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's in like every scene. At some point,
Yeah,
the guy just starts railing her fucking face like a fuck doll or something. And it's like,
yeah, it's fucking creepy, dude. It's disturbing, dude. Yeah.
And so, I mean, if that's become commonplace, people emulate what they see in porn. I mean, a lot of people are gonna think that's how you fuck.
Yeah.
Porn and like real sex are nothing alike.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna do that to some chick that's not a porn star, and she's gonna be fucking thrown up on your fucking cock.
And not coming back. And,
yeah, exactly.
And she might fucking call the cops.
Yeah, it's almost can kind of be justified as a fucking assault, dude.
That's people our age. I mean, in high school these days, I mean, how is that something that chicks are like think that they should do and guys think that they're supposed to do, and so they both fucking do it?
Yeah, that is interesting. They're like, okay, well, the porn is showing this, so I guess we gotta. Here we go.
I mean, that's the only fucking. I mean, God only knows what sort of sexual advice they're getting from their parents these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is true.
Well, a lot of these younger kids and these parents seem to think that you're supposed to just fuck everybody as much as you can.
Right.
That's something you should instill in your kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's a terrible plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, again, the reason I kind of brought it up too is what I've heard is that it's getting to the point where because of the availability of porn, nobody wants to be in a relationship. And the guys are like, well, yeah, I'll come over and like fuck you, but I don't want to date you. I'm okay with because I have all this fucking huge amount of porn at my fucking fingertips.
There was a little bit. It wasn't quite the same, but there's a little bit of like it wasn't quite there when I was younger, like in my 20s.
Right.
But there were numerous times I got told by people like, "No, you don't ask people out." Like,
yeah, that's true.
That's too scary. You just hang out with people, and eventually you're in a relationship. No,
that is definitely how it was. Yeah, for me too, man. Yeah, just kind of happened. You'd fucking hang out for a while, and you'd end up hanging out with one particular person a little more, and then you're dating.
Whereas to me, it was always like you ask a girl out because you're trying to get to know the person.
Right.
You're making it clear that you're interested.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not dating was never like in a relationship for me.
Right.
I always thought of it as the part before you get in a relationship.
Right. Yeah, the dating was like you said, getting to know, see if you're actually compatible on any level.
Like they don't have a real dating phase. It's not as formal.
No, definitely not. Yeah, well, or it seems like that doesn't start happening until like people get into their mid-30s. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like maybe late 20s, early 30s, where they're actually gonna like go on dates. And I don't even know if that really happens all that much, dude. Because I think it does because the party scene thing kind of is over for everybody at that age.
Well, and also
so you
people are so removed from each other.
Traditional dating.
Because traditional dating would be casual. There'd be no like you could be dating like 5 girls and it wouldn't be a big deal. You're just getting to know them to see whether or not you want to go to the next level beyond.
Yeah.
Whether or not there's anything worthy of a relationship, it's just casual, having a good time. There's no pressure to do anything. Whereas now a lot of people talk about like the 3rd date, you're supposed to have sex or something.
Yeah, if that.
If
the no sex on the first date rule is fucking way gone. I can tell you that.
Whereas before it'd be like you'd be dating somebody and then you'd eventually, stop dating other people and eventually agree to be exclusive, and that's when you're in like a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend.
Right.
It's after the dating phase.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now it's like that's the boyfriend, girlfriend part is called dating. So I don't know. It's very confusing to me.
Yeah. And, it's going to be interesting to see how that evolves, though. That or devolves, as the case may be.
Well, I think a lot more courtship goes on via cell phone and online, though, too.
Yeah, a lot of texting, a lot of
instant messaging, Twitter.
Yeah. That's true too, man.
And how do you demonstrate value over fucking Facebook?
Right.
Is like, are people choosing partners and mates based off of bullshit from Facebook and Twitter that's not real?
Yeah, considering how much people exaggerate and put up a false fucking front. Like, it's way worse than real life. You know, people, I mean, most people tend to do that in real life too. But yeah, it's like multiplied to a fucking exponential amount on Facebook, dude.
Yeah, well, I mean, you see somebody. So one of those things that never really got to me, but I understood why it would get to people is people being like, this is when like MySpace, when I first started doing that, is people like at first, it did for a very short period. Is people look like they're having such a great time all the time, and you'd be jealous.
Yeah.
But then you realize they're not really doing anything different than what you're doing. They're just framing and taking these very carefully planned out photos to make everybody think they're awesome.
Yeah.
But they're not actually doing anything.
Yeah, it turns out everyone's just as miserable as everyone else.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're pretending they're not.
Yeah. The party you go to is not as cool as the party like that other girl in high school was going to.
Right.
Shit, you know. I don't know. What was her name? Tila Tequila, I think, was the original queen of figuring out how to work that system.
Mm-hmm.
She was huge on MySpace. I don't know if anybody remembers Tila Tequila.
Oh yeah, well yeah, she had shows and shit, dude. Remember?
Yeah, like she parlayed MySpace, you know, bullshittery, and photos and stuff like that into a fucking career.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know. It's just interesting because I wonder if that's also partly what's making people not want to be in relationships. Is they're not actually getting to know people.
Right.
So they're just looking at all these fake things that make them think, oh, this is an awesome person, but then they get to know the real person and like, oh, this is a terrible person.
Yeah, like this is a letdown. As opposed to getting to know a person and their flaws and their bullshit, you know, by just being in their presence.
Yeah, and so like you don't, like every time you meet the person, it's always a letdown. Like how many times do you do that before you're like, oh, I guess it's just not worth being in a relationship?
Yeah.
I'll just find somebody who's my attractiveness level, who's willing to fuck me, and just fuck that person for a little while, and then move on to the next person because I got bored.
Right.
Because there is no relationship there. There's no emotional connection.
Yeah. It's interesting it's gonna be interesting to see how it all fucking plays out, man.
Sex robots, baby.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Dave was talking about
the
that.
women's fucking trump card has always been the pussy. If that can be replaced by a fucking robot, holy shit, that's going to turn the fucking tables, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and then Dave was talking about he doesn't want to see that because it'd be even more of a disconnect between people. And I'm sure it will, but
it's also going to make women fucking act right, dude.
Well, but would that be the final sort of equality, though? Is if people aren't reliant upon each other for meeting emotional and physical needs, the genders, do they then have to actually compete on completely even ground?
Yeah. That's the one I'm waiting to see more than all this other bullshit we're talking about.
Well, and then who knows? In like 200 or 300 years, it might be considered perverted to fuck an actual human.
Yeah.
Like the height of fucking fetishism. Like,
yeah, I think I mentioned
real people. My God, that's so fucking unhygienic.
Like in person. Yeah, there was I don't know if I'd mentioned this on here or not. Probably. I seem to repeat myself a lot. But there was a book by Asimov. Conveniently enough, Psycho had mentioned Asimov earlier, where there was this planet where it was essentially people lived on these huge estates, but never met each other in person. It was all through, TV screens and that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my mom was just telling me earlier. My grandpa actually was friends with Asimov, Heinlein, and Clark.
Yeah. Oh, that was you?
Yeah.
I don't know why. I thought that was someone else that had posted that.
Yeah. Apparently, like when my grandma married my grandfather, their honeymoon was at one of the estates of like one of Clark's estates or Asimov's estates in like fucking like Sri Lanka or some crazy shit.
Oh no shit. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
yeah, dude.
I was blown away. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, no, Asimov was the first. Well, Edgar Allan Poe probably was a little bit, but I think I've read pretty much everything that Asimov has ever written, dude.
I think Heinlein was my first real, like, really getting into books. But then again, technically, like, my first was when I was in like first grade. I was reading through like the Lord of the Rings series, but I don't know that I was really as aware of all of the facets of the story as I was when I was a teenager and I read Heinlein.
Right.
Sense.
So, wait, is that Stranger in a Strange Land? Is that Heinlein?
I believe that's Heinlein. I'm not sure.
Right. I gotta look that up because that's gonna bug me.
It was I forget if it's a tunnel or doorway in the sky, and it was all the main character was a guy who went to this planet in order to become like a sort of a guide survivalist, to be that job and exploring new planets with people, and he would guide people just to creating new cities and civilizations on alien planets.
Yeah.
And so they basically just dumped a whole bunch of them together on this planet, and then it was like how they interacted with each other and with the world.
Oh, gotcha.
So, he'd find people that were murdered by other survivalists because there's only going to be, so many that are successful type thing.
No, gotcha. Yeah, it was Heinlein, by the way, that wrote Stranger in a Strange Land. That's a good book.
The guy from Mars, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he groks everything, and he fucking does that.
Anytime I heard somebody reference grok, dude. What?
Where he sends them to like a side dimension and shit. When the guy there's somebody wants to shoot him, like a cop or something.
And
it
just essentially kills him.
Powers to just fucking put him off in like some dimension where he's like, oh, I guess I'll starve to death eventually.
Yeah. Well, he can essentially just kill him with fucking with his mind, basically. But because because at the end, like one of the guys that he kills is actually there with him and doesn't remember that he's the one that killed him.
Yeah. It was a trip. That was good. Yeah, Grok. There was an internet search engine called Grokster.
Oh, really?
It was supposed to work similar. Like they'd set up a whole different thing. I don't know if it ever actually got put into place. But that was supposed to be a thing. I'm going to see if I can't find it or some reference.
Yeah. No, they referenced that on fucking Adventure Time. I was like, holy shit. Yeah, fucking what's his name? Jake the dog's like, yeah, most people can't grok that. I'm like, holy shit, that's fucking awesome.
Oh, it's Instant Grok. Instagrok.
Instagrok. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it ever really got made.
There's definitely a lot of interesting concepts in that book. The dude that he lived with, the lawyer guy, I forget what he did. I think he was like a lawyer or something. But like the ideas that guy came up with were really interesting as far as, especially for when that book came out, because he wrote that in the fucking 60s, early 60s, I believe.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the time he wrote it, the concepts that he had his character put forward were really interesting, really far ahead of its time.
Well, what is the early sci-fi writers? Part of what made it fascinating was the technological stuff that was going on, all these crazy fucking, fantasy style inventions and whatnot that eventually a lot of people tried to make because they grew up with those books,
right?
But I think what really made them like engrossing to people was that it was basically predicting how people were going to evolve culturally and socially. And some of the authors were much more, adept at figuring out where the culture was really going to go.
Right, yeah. Or even just their attempts at portraying what a utopian society would look like. Was interesting too. Yeah.
Or showing that like a true utopia would actually be like kind of a nightmare in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
because you'd have to give up so many things that make you an individual in order to have that sort of utopic safety and perfection.
Yeah, yeah, indeed.
You know, it's like there was a fun little set of books. I can't remember who wrote it. It's all right. They're pretty fun, but the concept was almost all the evil in the world is been destroyed. So there's these 4 final villains that have managed to survive. Like this super powered group of good guys went through it. It's fantasy based. Went through and killed all the bad guys in the world except for them. And they have to prevent good from taking over the world, because then the world would just simply freeze in place.
Right, it would stagnate. Yeah,
because literally in the fantasy world, everything would just freeze and stop because there could be no progression.
Oh, okay, all right, that's interesting.
How could you have any sort of like anything like without a balance to the good?
Right,
the light takes fully over, everything just stops in one perfect image of perfection.
Right, just becomes kind of a perfect little singularity, and then just
exactly, yeah, it's a singularity. Yeah, it all freezes into a singularity, and then it essentially would just stop. Like no one would ever really continue. It would just stop everything.
Right.
So it was kind of fun because it does kind of show that, like, if you don't have the potential for negative things, good things don't really matter.
Yeah. Yep. Like I said, a lot of interesting concepts in there. Again, the science stuff too. Like I think Asimov had this one story where he basically kind of put out the idea that once you exceed the speed of light, gravity actually would reverse itself, and it would become repellent instead of attractive.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, like in the story, it's like, oh yeah, we got this thing that goes faster than the speed of light. They send it out, and it's way off course, and they couldn't figure out why. And then they finally realize, like, oh shit! Like once you're going that fast, the fucking laws essentially reverse. But yeah, that's just an example of it. But yeah, I just love that any of the fucking sci-fi concepts that they put out there are usually really interesting.
Yeah. Stench ever said Soylent Green is coming. I put down the website for the place that actually sells the nutritional shakes called Soylent Green.
I still can't believe they fucking picked that fucking name, and I'm really,
I think they just call
way more amazed that
it's
successful. Yeah.
Fucking I watched a great. It's an old from like the 90s fucking like National Geographic special on what would happen if the world stopped spinning. And you could tell it was written mostly by scientists, because that's what they still had there. Because the only ones that survived after the world stopped spinning were the scientists that decided to go live where the ocean used to be. Because apparently the ocean would just go the poles would just turn into giant oceans. And there'd be no ocean in the middle of the earth.
All right.
Why not? I have no idea. I think we'd all go flying off, really, into space. I think the part of what keeps us on the planet is the rotation or something like that.
I know. There's gravity's still going to apply, dude, even if it stops spinning. There's actually
it stopped spinning slowly enough over time that it didn't throw everyone off. Because if it just stopped right now, we'd all fly off because of the velocity.
Right.
Like we're going thousands of miles an hour, but because we're constantly going that, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And it slowed down just enough that everybody
a fucking record spinning around. Yeah. Right.
But it was funny because you could tell like the scientists wrote it because they're like, and then the only ones that survived were the scientists at the end of the fucking show.
Right. Magically, like they were gonna write themselves out of it.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking funny. I'm like, it makes the whole thing suspect, but terribly humorous.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, there's actually I've read some of the because again, I love reading shit about the theories, what you want to call them, conspiracy theories or whatever, but the theories about what has happened in the past. And one of the things that I've read about was that they say that actually has happened, that the world will actually reverse spin. It will stop and reverse spin, and it has done that in the past.
Well,
and
the rotation of the Earth does shrink at a gradual pace. I mean, extremely gradual, like thousands, if not millions or billions of years or something like that. So that's not impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing is, I think I talked about it here too, is that they think that, there's a theory that the poles have drastically shifted at times.
Oh, drastically shifted. I've heard that they've reversed. I hadn't heard that they just shifted.
But yeah, like for example, Antarctica wasn't always, Antarctica used to be in a temperate area. And it ended up sliding down to this, what is now the South Pole.
Oh, okay. No, I think I hear. Yeah, I think I know what you're saying. Yeah, I think I've heard that. Yeah, I mean, well, that one of the things is there's just really not any certain way of knowing.
Yeah, that's what makes it tough, is not being able to tell for sure. Although the stuff that Graham Hancock's come up with is definitely pretty compelling. Where he shows, like, there's these areas that have these huge, like, when you see anytime water flows over something, there's usually, like, the sand underneath is going to form kind of a ripple, a wavy kind of area. There was some spot, I forget where the fuck it was, but where it was essentially that, but on a huge scale, like 50-foot tall ridges and valleys that looked essentially behaved exactly the way that would, basically indicating that there was just a massive amount of water that flowed across that entire area at one point, very quickly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not some bizarre, unbelievable concept that there may have been advanced societies beyond our historical record,
Yeah, and that's the thing, is, like, scientists don't want to. They seem to want to dismiss the possibility of cataclysms causing major fucking change. Everything's got to be a gradual fucking change, even if it's over just a few years or whatever. They seem to want to dismiss the idea that there can't be a huge fucking global cataclysm that fucks everything up all at once.
Well, it's very similar to Christianity in a lot of respects. It's people that want to feel like they have control,
right?
You know what I mean? And knowing that this is how everything works and everything changed gradually, and there was never these awful things that just got rid of everybody for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
I
guess that makes
flood
sense.
was all about God getting angry. Well, there was never any giant flood. You're being silly. It was just mild flooding in this area that they've remembered, orally, that made it into the religions. And, instead of being like, well, maybe there was some sort of, massive flood that fucking ended like these advanced societies beyond our concept of time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it would be tough to flood the entire world all at once, but it could definitely have covered very large areas, dude.
Stench ever says Bigfoot has big feet and the ice age is coming and there will be great climate change again.
Right.
It's possible, man. I don't know, man. I don't know if I believe in Bigfoot, but
I don't know, man. There seem to be a lot of credible people saying they've seen it. Like, there's a lot of people that are almost, a lot of them are full of shit, almost certainly. But it seems like there's some pretty credible people that have claimed to see it. So it's hard for me to dismiss it. I definitely think it's possible.
I don't know that
that's kind of the way I look at almost everything, though. Is like, it's possible.
I'm not going to say it doesn't exist. Absolutely, that'd be ridiculous. There's tons of places we don't explore. We don't have enough. Like there's thousands of miles of land that just like nobody is. There's nobody.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially the Pacific Northwest, man. I mean, there's so many fucking, the forests are fucking huge there. Or back east, like where I lived in New York, it's incredibly heavily forested. And again, upstate New York is again pretty much the polar opposite of New York City. It's a bunch of rural little fucking towns just surrounded by forest. So there's definitely a lot of fucking open land that they could definitely be disappear into.
And the rainforest is constantly coming out with new species of animal and plant and all sorts of shit.
Yeah, and not just like insects and shit like that, like actual fucking like large mammals. They're still discovering.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I remember hearing about like a new deer being found at one point, and I'm like, really? Like that hadn't been spotted yet. Like, okay,
they found some new monkeys and stuff. I mean, not that long ago either.
Yeah, pretty crazy, man.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, that there'd be like a giant monkey with like super big feet in the Northwest is not that fucking bizarre,
No, definitely not, man. Yeah.
I think we've covered all of what we could possibly cover.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at with my little statement there.
No, I know. I was just seeing how far we could go.
See how far out there we can get. We'll talk about the alien abduction shit next week.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right. Thanks to everyone for joining us. It did. And if you made it to the end, kudos to you.
Yeah. Thanks for sticking around. Bye-bye.